If you were cursed with sentience anytime between the year of 1999 and yesterday, then you have heard of the phenomenon dubbed by the media as Pokemania. You don't need me to tell you what Pokemon is. You already know. Your mom knows. Your great aunt Gertrude knows. Your grandpa knows. Although he does think it's the work of the devil to get people to believe in evolution, he still knows what Pokemon is.
Their power sources, of course, are many of the symbols that they pick up from the Pokemon paraphernalia. So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft.
For the last 29 years, Pokemon has been an unstoppable force moving through the world of pop culture. What started as a simple Game Boy game quickly became a TV show, a trading card game, a Game Boy game of said trading card game, a plane for some reason, and warehouses upon warehouses full of merchandise. All of which has catapulted Pokemon to be the most valuable IP in history by a crazy margin. Whether you played it as a child in the back of your parents' car, catching glimpses of a non-backlit screen every time you passed a streetlight, or as an adult on your Switch while driving said car, you or someone you know, be it a sibling, friend, cousin, whatever, was into Pokemon at some point or another. And since it was you who clicked on this video and not them, I'm gonna guess it was you. Like many kids, me and my friends loved Pokemon. We all had the games growing up, and we all had cards. Not that we knew how to play the game or anything. I mean, we'd kind of just sit there and draw cards like a weird Pokemon version of War until one of us broke the rules of this made-up game, and then we would start fist fighting. I must have been like a super inefficient engine the way I was chucking 90% of the energy cards I got right into the trash.
Yes, that's a very smart joke. Isn't that right, comedy professor?
Well done, indeed.
Now, as we grew up, we of course kind of fell out of it, got into more teenage boy things like football, Call of Duty, and masturbating. But recently, I have been infected by the Poke mind virus and relapsed severely. I even managed to find a lot of the cards from when I was a kid, which was a lot of fun. It turns out I had a lot of cards, a pretty thorough collection, especially from the early days, which doesn't make sense based on my own personal age, but I'm not going to think about that. But the Pokemon tagline sure ain't gotta catch a reasonable amount of them. That shit's And it was this shitty joke that led me to ask the question, what does that look like? How many cards exactly make up all? Lists of every card in the releases aren't exactly hard to come by. There are thousands upon thousands of hardcore collectors all over the world, with tons of resources for checking off entries in your little cardstock forest. But although there may be many resources, they often will only include one version of the card's release, plus maybe a special category for limited promo runs and things like that. These can be found with relative ease for both sides of the Axis and allies, but what about the rest of the world? Sure, nowadays the cards are released and printed in over a dozen languages, but surely it wasn't always like that. And how many different cards are there when we consider minute differences, like languages, or rarities, or even copyright dates? I don't think anyone has ever fully tallied up absolutely everything. Every card variation, every promo with the fancy sticker, every special edition in every language, etc, etc. And so that's what I decided my quest here would be. So come along with me as I seek to answer the question, how many Pokemon cards are there in the first generation? Now, I know, hold the tomatoes, it's a bit anticlimactic to be sure, but as anyone who knows anything about this sort of stuff could probably have guessed by what I've said, when I had that idea, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
As it turns out, there's a shit ton of these things. Who knew? Estimates will vary on the subject, but for English alone, it's common to see the number hypothesized to be nearly 20,000 unique cards. So in order to give myself a reasonable goal and to make this video sometime before Generation 10, or fuck it, even 11, comes out, I decided to start with just taking a look at the first generation. Now, before we take a deep dive into the field of study that has consumed my waking moments and most of my sleeping ones for the past several weeks, let's lay a few ground rules to elaborate on what exactly we're talking about here. First off, when I say Gen 1, I don't really mean just every card ever made of the original 151 throughout the TCG's existence. Rather, I mean the cards released during that first generation of Pokemon, basically from the start until they started including Gen 2 in those series. Roughly speaking, this takes us from release in 1996 until right around the year 2000. To be more specific, anything before the Neo series in both Japan and the US. Second off, what counts as a unique card here? For this, I'm considering any intended difference, no matter how small. This can range from being printed on a different material like glossy or non-glossy cardstock, or even a reprint that changes small things like copyright info. What this does not consider is anything that was made in error. There are a laundry list of erroneous cards, things like the weird first edition Butterfree, typo whatever, blah blah blah. Those are unintentional. Someone messed up on the print and now collectors give you an extra $50 for them. Good for them, but I'm only interested in changes made intentionally. Ergo, what counts here is a card, any version printed in this time frame that changes any info on that card, any version printed in a different rarity or material, different languages, special promos and events, and any version that just differs in any way from the first printing in a substantial manner. Here's what does not count as a unique card. Reprints with no changes. Sometimes they would reuse or reprint cards for use in new boosters or bundles or whatever, but without changing anything in the actual print. Even if it was printed a year or so later, if it's the exact same card, that's fine. Errors. As mentioned above, not going to count these for errors alone, but I may still mention them if it's something kind of funny. Anniversary editions or reprints from later sets. We are only looking at cards released as part of this first generation for now. I know that even by the second generation, they would re-release the same cards but in new formats, but that's not what we're looking at today. Maybe we'll get there one day. Special sticker cards or similar items. Although we will count non-TCG Pokemon cards, more on that later.
Foreshadowing is a literary device in which
Things like the kind of sticker cards, puzzle promos, things like that will not be counted in the tally, though they may be mentioned just for the sake of completion. Gen 2 promo cards. For our intents and purposes, this refers not only to any card with the Generation 2 Pokemon on it, but any promo cards released after the launch of the Neo series, aka February 4th, 2000 in Japan and December 16th, 2000 in the United States. So now,
Shall we begin?
So right now, suffice to say we can break out Pokemon cards into two categories here: trading card game cards or TCG cards and non-TCG cards. In the trading card game category, we have the cards released as part of the following sets or expansions: the base set, Jungle, Fossil, Base Set 2, Team Rocket, Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge, and their Japanese counterparts. We also have smaller categories available through various promotions, broken out as follows: Japanese Vending Series, Wizards of the Coast Black Star promos, Japanese unnumbered promotional cards, and miscellaneous promo cards. This is where I just put cards that were given away as part of special things that weren't part of the larger Black Star promos or Japanese promos that were not used as promos in the US. And in the non-TCG category, we have Cardass promo cards pre-TCG and Topps collectible cards. What are those, you might say? Don't worry about it. We won't get there until you're too invested not to drop the video, and for the sake of viewer retention, since we're already like, oh my god, we'll start with the TCG cards. Okay, so here's what this is going to look like. I'm not going to list out every single version of every single card. You don't have time for that. I hope not, at least. If you do, maybe go outside a bit. Talk to your friends. Call your mom. You don't talk to her enough and she's starting to get worried. In line with that, I am not really interested much in the way of like a whole catalog with every entry and every card linked and shared and blah blah blah. For the sake of my own sanity, what we are looking for here is just like a round, flat number. As an example of kind of the methodology here, let's start at the top with the English version of the base set. Right? This is a good example because obviously it's the first set in English, but also it's basically the most complicated math that we'll have to see. The base edition has 102 cards in it, starting with Alakazam and ending with Water Energy. The cards were numbered accordingly by card type like Pokemon or Trainer card, Energy, etc., and then by rarity, rare holographic, rare, uncommon, common, and then lastly within those groups alphabetically by the card name. That's why when you stare at the list, it's a bit weird and seemingly random. So, we have 102 cards. Add 102 to our tally, right? Wrong. See, we have 102 cards in the set, but several variations of the set itself. Specifically, there are 4 and like a half different versions of the base set alone. The first edition of these cards were garnished with a handy-dandy first edition stamp to all 102, marking them as part of the first run of the pack. So in this case it is just a nice neat plus 102. Of these 102, 16 of them were what was known as hollow foil rare cards, aka the super shiny version of the card that your little cousins would rub their grubby little Cheeto hands on. Of these 16, there were 2 versions of these first edition stamps, known as thick and thin stamps. To make it more confusing, this differentiation between 2 and 3C's thick refers not to the size of the stamp itself, but the width of the 1 in it. Assuming that we counted the thin versions already in our initial account, the thick versions give us another batch of plus 16. There's that half of a set that I mentioned a bit ago. I guess it would technically be like an extra 1600 of a set, but that doesn't really roll off the tongue as well, so fuck it. Once these cards sold out, the next printed version did not have the first edition stamp on it, which makes sense. However, this run also did not have the underbox shadow effect that all subsequent printings would have, thus putting it into the category of limited edition shadowless, plus 102. After that, we enter to the unlimited printings, which is something that we will see more of in each and every set. Each set from this era was traditionally released with a first edition stamp run, and after that an unlimited run for all subsequent printings without that stamp. And yes, that's right, this means that as a result, everything else will have at least 2 versions minimum. These unlimited printings were differentiated from these limited edition in fairly minor ways, such as the presence of the drop shadow and cranking up the brightness on the card more than I do when I play a horror game by myself. Whew, that's better. While these changes are small, they do carry with them huge ramifications. Most notably, the difference between your brother's Charizard he found in his old binder paying for either his college tuition or the next family dinner at Applebee's. These unlimited cards had 6 printings, 5 of which are completely identical and as such are only being counted once, plus 102. However, this 6th one was supposedly only printed and distributed within the United Kingdom, which would be, all fine and dandy. It's not like the Virgin gave Charizard a little top hat and monocle, but it did update the copyright info on the card, giving us yet another group of 102 cards to consider, plus 102. Add all of these up and we have a total of 424 cards from the base set English version alone. And maybe now you can see just how easily this mountain out of a molehill can we make. And this base set was printed at the time into English, Japanese, German, Dutch, French, Italian, Portuguese, Korean, and traditional Chinese. Most of these just add 204 cards to our count, 102 for first edition and 102 for unlimited. The only exception being the Spanish version, which had a similar 99 to 2000 versus 99 copyright difference for non-holo cards in each edition. This actually is used to tell where they're produced, as cards with the 99 dates were made in Spain and 99 to 2000 were made in Latin America. This gives us extra copies of first edition and unlimited for all 86 non-holo cards, bringing Spain's total to 376. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that Japan did not have the first edition versus unlimited formats, but rather an initial run without the card rarities printed and later runs with the rarities included, but the total remains at 204. When we take all of these different versions, we reach a total of 2,432 cards. Damn! Just from the first ever release of Pokemon. And before we move on to the real fun and start going through all of the sets, I want to be upfront about one thing. Whatever number I arrive at in the end, and honestly probably this 2400 card number already, will be wrong. I'm doing the best I can, but unfortunately a lot of this information is somewhat loosely collected. There's only so much information that's still accessible today with the gap of 25 years. There are excellent resources like Bulbapedia's TCG project and the various forum threads for collectors, all of which that I used, I'll link below, but record keeping is not perfect, particularly when we start to look for special versions of cards outside of Japanese and English. The existence of a lot of variations is debated. I found countless forum threads of people discussing collecting and concluding that various cards were never printed in Spanish or French or Portuguese or whatever, only for a latter post on that thread to just be a picture of it to prove it existed.
Surprise, motherfucker!
As a result, I am not proud enough to claim that this is a definitive list by any means. I'm sure that despite all the research I've done, there are some cards that have slipped through the cracks, both of my hands and the community's. And I am but a humble man, and it's possible that I just missed some more obscure cards buried deeper than I was able to find, or just made some simple dumb math errors. You stupid! All this to say that my aim here is just to be confident enough to put a number out that is within plus or minus 5% of the actual count. If anyone watching at home catches something that I missed or an error that I made in counting or anything like that, please let me know in the comments below. If I muck it up enough, I might make a correction video at a later date. Now let's dig in. The first full TCG expansion was the Jungle expansion, released roughly half a year after the base set. For all languages except the original Japanese release, the pack had 64 cards in both first edition and unlimited edition runs. Released in English, French, German, Dutch, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, right off the bat, our total for this set is 896. Additionally, there were 2 special prints of Pikachu to mention, one in Mandarin Chinese as part of the Pikachu World Collection, and one with the special W stamp as a Wizards of the Coast promo, so there's +2. The Japanese release here was limited to 1 run of the rarity included cards, of which there were only 48. This discrepancy comes from a fun trick the Wizards of the Coast like to pull. In order to artificially inflate the amount of cards in each set, Wizards added non-holo versions of all of the holographic only Japanese cards, giving them 2 versions, rare and holographic rare. This is why the number between Japanese and other sets are usually off by the same amount of holo cards in the set. Like in this case, we have 16 extra cards in every other version of the game besides Japanese. So our Japan count here is +48, and our total for Jungle is 946 cards. Before we get into our next set, here's a quick word from the sponsor of today's video. Have you ever struggled with lactose-induced diabetes? Psych, bitch, no one knows who I am. Let's talk about some fossils. The Fossil expansion, or Mystery of the Fossils in Japanese, had 48 cards in the Japanese set and 62 cards in all other regions. Remembering what I said a minute ago about inflation, not the sexy kind but the capitalist kind, gives us a holo count here of 14 cards. This set was released in English, French, German, Dutch, Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish, and would also be the last set released with such a wide berth for quite a while.
Thank you, God!
Our initial card count then is 868. The English Unlimited non-holo foil card did have a version with 99 to 2000 date on them, and their unlimited holo foil cards actually had 2 different holo versions, Galaxy and Cosmos, though no one is exactly sure why they have these versions. The leading theory is that an alt version was leaked by Wizards of the Coast employees. These combine to a full set of extra cards, so plus 62 more, giving us a total card count for this expansion of 978. Keeping it short and sweet on this next one, we have Base Set 2. Base Set 2 is the first ever repackaged set, combining a handful of cards from the base set and jungle groups for a total of 130 cards. Now, despite all of the cards being reprinted and having no notable variations in gameplay functions, they do all have a set mark of the 2 and a different set number, so they do count as new for our purposes. Thankfully though, this was only ever printed in English and had no first edition run, since I don't think it would make much sense to have a first edition of the reissue. As such, this one actually is just a nice easy plus 130 cards to our set. Plus 130. To introduce our next set, please join me in welcoming America's favorite outlaw, Jesse James. What was that? Oh, Jesse and James. Like from Pokey, yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Well, geez, you don't have to be so mean about it. It's just an honest mistake. I don't think you can say that word.
Prepare for trouble!
Make it double.
Next up, we have the Team Rocket expansion, or as it's known in Japan under a much funnier name, Rocket Gang. This set was released into Japanese with 65 cards, and then later released into English, French, German, and Italian with a total card count of 82. This set introduced quite a few new things like Dark Pokemon, Holofoil Trainer, and Holofoil Energy cards, but also, because Team Rocket are the bad boys that don't like to play by the rules, it broke the rules of mathematics and gave us 83 cards in an 82 card set. To anyone watching instead of just listening, joke's on you, I can read, you just assumed I made a mistake. That's right, this was the introduction of what came to be known as secret cards. This 83rd card was neither Pikachu nor Raichu, but a secret third thing. Like a fucked up evil version of Raichu. Just a glimpse of my dark and twisted mind. Dark Raichu was the first secret card, as well as the first ever card to be developed and released by Wizards of the Coast themselves, releasing internationally before being included in later Japanese expansions. This also delayed the release of the pack by 3 months for some reason, so I hope it was worth it for them. Anyway, adding up our non-Japanese counts with the both first and unlimited edition, we have 664 cards. There were also 2 unique promotional cards, both with the Wizards W stamped on them. One being a Dark Arbok card given away during Hong Kong Pokemon League, and the other being a Dark Charmeleon given away during a craft giveaway in Australia, I guess. Not counting this one individually, but evidently the base versions of Dark Arbok also had an extra 3 included in the copyright date, making so that Arbok was copyrighted in the year 23,000. Good future proofing, I guess. Add those 2 plus the 65 Japanese cards and you get a total of 731 for this set. Next up, we have the Japanese vending machine cards. These were a collection of special cards exclusively released in Japan across 3 series, red, blue, and green, as a reference to, of course, gamer keyboards. These cards were available from Japanese vending machines as little sheets where you could peel off 3 cards in each sheet. Said sheets were distributed randomly and only obtainable from these vending machines, which has led to the community dubbing them as the vending machine series, though this is not the official name. What is the official name? I have no idea. Everyone just calls them the vending machine cards, so here we are. The group was released throughout 1998 and consisted a total of 125 cards, 36 for red and blue and 53 in the green series, so plus 125. Each sheet represented a different location within the Kanto region and would contain 3 Pokemon of that region. Though distribution was randomized, the sheets themselves were not, meaning that, for example, every red series sheet 6 would contain the same 3 Pokemon, and collecting all 18 sheets would guarantee a full collection. The green series also had a kinda neat thing where many sheets contained a Bill's PC card, which, if mailed along with a copy of trade evolution cards from the set, Kadabra, Machoke, Graveler, Haunter, and Omanite, would evolve into a special holographic version of the evolved cards. And no, you're not going crazy, Omanite is not a trade evolution at all and instead just evolves at level 40, so I have no idea what it's doing here, but you know what? Good for it. These cards are considered unofficial additions to the set, giving us an additional 5 cards here for Alakazam, Machoke, Golem, Gengar, and Omastar, plus 5. Additionally, a special early kind of promo proof of concept sheet featuring Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Mew was given out at the World Hobby Fair in December 1997, giving us 3 more unofficial cards, plus 3. Many of these cards do have alternate versions, either as American promo cards or Japanese reprints with normal stock, but we will count them later. Our total for this set then comes out to 133. So as of right now, we have a count of 2,432 plus 946 plus 978 plus 130 plus 731 plus 133 for a total of 5,350. Now, we're almost done with the base set series, but we have one big part left: promotional cards. At the start of the TCG's life, Nintendo partnered with Wizards of the Coast, the creators of Magic the Gathering, for distribution and localization outside of Japan. Wizards was in charge of this from the initial release in 1999 through October 2003, at which point everyone shook hands and went their separate ways nice and easy.
Bike!
What matters about all of this is that Wizards ran a lot of various promotions around the world for things like Pokemon League, movie tie-ins, etc., etc. When they had a promotion, Wizards would usually use a previously unreleased Japanese card, such as those from the vending machine set, and give it a special black Wizards promotional star on it to market as promo material. There were 53 of these aptly named Black Star promos, but as you probably guessed, that doesn't mean we're adding a nice neat deck of playing cards and a Joker to our count here for a few reasons. First off, not all of these promo cards are for Gen 1 Pokemon. Wizards distributed the cards almost until Gen 3, so a good amount of these promo cards are Gen 2 Pokemon like Entei, Pichu, Ho-Oh, etc., etc. There are a few cards here that were released around the time of Gen 2, but are simply item cards, but since again that doesn't meet our cutoff, we're not going to be counting these, so not all 53 will be included. However, of these 53, the languages and versions they were printed in vary wildly, and this is where everything gets a bit murky like I mentioned earlier. There isn't a great record of which promotional cards were distributed in which languages, other than whenever one pops up somewhere to prove as physical evidence. As a result, most of the count for this section is based on actual cards that have popped up in recent years as collectibles, but it's entirely possible that ones we currently assume to be non-existent did and have just kind of been lost to the sands of time. A lot of info here comes from this forum thread that will be in the description, where a lot of dedicated people have been trying to track down all of the language variations. The information here is absolutely invaluable, as the wiki doesn't concern itself with stuff like this, and as someone who has recently decided to concern myself with stuff like this, I get it. Taking out the promo cards that don't meet our cutoff date gives us a total of 23. In an effort to not pad the runtime any further and save my future editing self-sanity, I'm going to shorten this down a bit by basically just batching as many of them as possible together and being pretty brief with my spoken notes, though I will try and put more thorough explanations on screen where applicable. So if you were listening and want to learn more about that, pay attention, I guess. Starting off with...
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Pikachu!
Pikachu. Go figure. There were 7 different versions across English, Japanese, and Portuguese of this card, so plus 7. Numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all special promos used for the release of Mewtwo Strikes Back, the first Pokemon movie. Combining alternate versions of each card, Electabuzz, Mewtwo, Pikachu, and Dragonite, as well as original Japanese counterparts, give us a total of 19. Number 6, Arcanine, a Pokemon League promo released in many different languages, plus 7. Number 7, Jigglypuff. This was included as a promotional material with a copy of the Pokemon the First Movie soundtrack, and the Japanese version of this card was actually one of the first ever TCG cards released, with a special bonus Pikachu as a promotional event 5 days before the base set released, a total of plus 4. Numbers 8 and 9 are 2 alternate versions of the same Mew card, released as a Pokemon League promo with multiple versions and languages for a total of plus 13 combined. Number 10, Meowth, a physical promo card of a card that was initially only used in the TCG Game Boy game, released as a packaged bonus with the TCG. This card was never actually printed in Spanish, but they did print a special Spanish translation card, and I'm going to include that, so plus 4. Number 11, Eevee, Japanese Pokemon Fan Club and English Pokemon League promo, plus 3. Number 12, Mewtwo, Japanese and English version, plus 2. Number 13, Venusaur, a special card included in both the English and Japanese guidebooks for the Game Boy TCG game, plus 2. Number 14 is a Mewtwo card that we actually already counted earlier in one of our other Mewtwo groups, so this one is just plus 0. Number 15, Cool Porygon, bundled with Pokemon Stadium for the N64. Fun fact, the black star here was tinier than normal for some reason, so people thought there were multiple versions, and thankfully, for this count and my sanity, there were not, plus 2. Number 16, Computer Error, Japanese versions with different drop shadows, as well as an English Pokemon League promo, plus 3. Numbers 17, 18, and 19 are Dark Persian, Team Rocket's Meowth, and Sabrina's Abra, respectively, all of which just had a Japanese and English version, plus 6 total. Number 20, Psyduck, promo through the Pokemon League with many different versions, but the Japanese version was used as a promotion for the How I Became a Pokemon card manga, which disappointingly is not a body horror story about a child turning into a Pokemon card, but rather an adorable, fun little series that would tell stories about the Pokemon leading up to them in the pose scene on the cards. Total here of plus 7. Number 21, Moltres. This one had a Japanese version as an airline promo and an English version for a movie tie-in, but there are actually 2 versions of the English as the original mistakenly credited the wrong artist. This one was also produced in several different languages, but since I can't find any reference to the mistaken artist or correcting being issued in different languages, I will assume that none of the other languages had the mistake or correction. So the total here is plus 8. Numbers 22 and 23 are Articuno and Zapdos and are exactly the same as Moltres when it comes to their description, even with the same errors and the same total card count, so our total here is plus 16. All of this combines to give us a total for this series of 103 cards. Or at least it would be if this were actually the end and I hadn't fucked it up. Editing Max here, and I realized that I made a little whoopsie, and there's actually 5 other Black Star promotional cards that came out in some way, shape, or form before our cutoff date. And since it appears that Satoshi Tajiri himself is mocking me for my boundless hubris, they are 5 different versions of Pikachu. And as it is now roughly 11 PM as I sit editing this, and I need something to spark joy back into my life, I will now attempt to give them funny nicknames. And so we have the following Pikachus. Pikachu turning 3 years old that had its birthday party at a nightclub rave. Pikachu that loved the Disney movie Up but couldn't afford to buy a house. Constipated yet determined Pikachu. Pikachu that just passed gas so bad it inflicts toxic on anyone who smells it. And Pikachu obsessed with the 2007 animated masterpiece Surf's Up. Most of these Pikachu had several different versions, upwards of like 7 or 8 when all things are considered, but for various reasons only a handful actually made it before our cutoff date. The final count for each is as follows, giving us an additional 12 cards. Now back to the tiny little electric rat race. And now we have the Japanese promo cards. These ones were famously unnumbered, hence the name, unnumbered promo cards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm gonna just kind of go down the list as the wiki has them formatted, which is more or less release order. Some of these have already been covered or mentioned in previous entries, so if I've already covered some, I'm gonna skip them here. A full list can be found on the Bulbapedia site linked below, but if anyone is following along and wondering why I'm not covering some entries, that would be why. Our first card is a glossy version of Mew released as a Korokoro comic promotion. Remember that name Korokoro, by the way, it's about to come up a lot, and a second non-glossy version used in a stamp rally later on with Surfing Pikachu. This one did not make it to the West until after our cutoff, so our count only goes up by 2. Slowpoke, Released with special playmats, this card never saw release overseas aside from within the Game Boy game, +1. Super Energy Retrieval. Pocket Monsters fan print, not released outside of Japan until after our cutoff. There was a glossy version printed later in '99, so our count goes up by 2. Number 1, 2, and 3 trainer cards. Official tournament prizes in 1996 for TCG tournaments, +3. Pikachu, Jigglypuff, and Clefairy. Jumbo Korokoro promotional card from June 1997, +1. Surfing Pikachu. 2 versions with slightly different art, first being used as a Korokoro promotion and the second being used as a stamp rally reward. Imakuni. Special Japanese card with a Korokoro promo and an in-person reward given by Imakuni to participants of a tournament held in Hawaii, +2. Articuno. Special version of the card from the Fossil set, one with art by Ken Sugimori and one by Yui Tanaka, +2. Flying Pikachu. 2 versions in Japanese, one for a Korokoro promo and one for a special airline promo, +2. Hungry Snorlax, N64 promo campaign, +1. Meowth, Korokoro promo card that was never released in English, +1. Pokemon Illustrator. This is the big one. Given as a prize for an illustration contest, there are believed to only have been 39 in existence. This is also the most valuable card ever sold, fetching over 5 million USD at auction, +1. Kanto Starter Evolutions and Trade Please card. Special versions of Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur, where during a promo campaign, if people sent 2 Pokemon cards in with the sheet selecting what trade they wanted, they would receive in return a special version of one of the starters with art by Ken Sugimori and the Trade Please promo card. Brock's Onyx, Misty, Staryu, Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz, and Erika's Dratini. Korokoro promotional cards with updated versions that would be used in later expansions, but the original promos had unique art, +4. Jinx, Cubone, Farfetch'd. Special mail-in Korokoro campaign, +3. Mewtwo Strikes Back. Jumbo Korokoro promotional card, +1. Touch Change and Kangaskhan. Special card given to participants of a parent/child tag team tournament that would make your opponent tag out with their partner, and a reward for winning a certain number of matches in said tournament, which is just very, very cute, +2. Pikachu's Summer Vacation. Korokoro promotional card and also the cutest thing I've ever seen, but still only +1. Diglett and Doug Trio. Special bonus cards included with easily understand how to play Pokemon cards, +2. Brock's Mankey, Erika's Bulbasaur, Misty's Tentacool, and Lieutenant Surge's Jolteon. Special promotional art for normal cards released in a group in the same Korokoro issue, +4. Dragonite. Special TCG Game Boy game tie-in card, +1. Tropical Present. Pokemon Fan Club reward with 2 different art versions, so +2. Magikarp. Special magazine Celadon University mail-in promo campaign, +1. Blaine's Growlithe, reprint with special art, +1. Pikachu, promo in Volume 1 of Pokemon Card Trainers magazine, +1. Mankey, jungle expansion card with special art as of How I Became a Pokemon card promo, +1. Bulbasaur, Gyarados, Magikarp, Poliwag, and Pikachu, special Pokemon Snap photo contest winner promotional cards, +5. Coughing, Charmander, Articuno, Squirtle, and Chansey, different Pokemon Snap photo contest winners promo, +5. Meryl, Korokoro comic promotional card.
Hey, wait a minute, what the hell?
Pokemon Valley, Jumbo Korokoro promotional card, +1. Number 1, 2, and 3 trainers. Reprint of the rewards for tournaments, but 2 versions of each this time, +6. Giovanni's Nidoking, Koga's Ninja Gym, and Lawrence III. Same Korokoro promotional issue, but Lawrence is actually a Jumbo card. Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos. Special artwork phone card version given as prizes at the 1999 Mega Battle Tournament, +3. Bilingual Executor. 2 Japanese versions, 1 glossy and 1 not, given for Mega Battle in Honolulu prize, and 1 as a Volume 3 of Pokemon Card Trainer magazine, +2. Tropical Wind. Tropical Mega Battle participation bonus, +1. Misty's Treatment. Pikachu Records logo and promo, +1. Trainer certification card. Pokemon Fan Club reward, +1. New Year's present. Pokemon Fan Club promo for the new millennium. A jumbo card, +1. What a nice card to end on as the final Japanese promo card in our selection. It isn't, but it would be nice if it was, wouldn't it? No, unfortunately that honor gets to go to one last How I Became a Pokemon card promo with a special Jinx, released as an absolute buzzer beater January 22nd of 2000, mere weeks before our cutoff. And that is the final card released as a promotional material prior to the launch of Gen 2 in Japan, giving us a final tally for the unnumbered promotional cards of 78. 8. With the inclusion of the promotional cards, both Wizards Black Star and unnumbered promotional cards, our new total becomes 5,543 cards. But we're not fully done with the TCG. Everything up until now has taken us through the first series of cards, but there is another series in between this and the start of the second generation. The Gym Heroes and Gym Legends sets. Hey there, Editing Max again. Voiceover Max must have been really feeling the Pink Floyd and had a momentary lapse of reason the way he just started making up fucking set names. Gym Legends doesn't exist, by the way. The real name is Gym Challenge. Gym Challenge. Anyway, back to it. These were a collection of 2 Japanese sets with an added bonus of a lot of cards previously only released in pre-made theme decks in Japan, as well as maybe some other kind of what could have been promotional cards, like the Vending Machine series. Gym Heroes had a total of 132 English cards, of course first and unlimited edition, and the Japanese counterpart Leader Stadium had 96 cards. And this series was actually never printed in languages other than Japanese and English, so our only other addition here is a special Gold W promo Misty Psyduck released as a magazine promo in the States. So our total for this set is 361. Our last official set here is Gym Challenge, which had the same general rules in publishing as its predecessor, like English and Japanese release only, and an unlimited and first edition version of all 132 English cards. The Japanese set only had 98 cards, and there was one special Gold W promo Vulpix to give us a total here of 363 cards, for a set total between the two of them of 724. So now we've done it. We finally finished the count. Right? Right? Right?
Oh no. I say when we're done.
Because, my friends, if you recall all the way back to however many fucking minutes ago at the start of this video, holy shit, this got out of hand, and think back on my verbiage, on what I said. So come along with me as I seek to answer the question, how many Pokemon cards are there in the first generation? You may notice that I did not say how many Pokemon trading card game cards are there, but rather how many Pokemon cards. Meaning, we still have 2 more categories to explore before we cap it off. 2 more lovely realms, one in Japan and one in the US of A.
But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrifice?
And let's start with the land of the rising sun, shall we? Our journey now takes us earlier than ever before, back to the distant past of September 1996, when the Venusaurs roamed, aka 1 month before the launch of the full trading card game in Japan. September saw the release of a series of official collectible cards from Bandai's Cardass line. Yes, that is the name, featuring special art drawn by Ken Sugimori. As these cards predate the TCG by a month, they are widely considered to be the first Pokemon cards ever made. The cards were split into 2 series, parts 1 and 2 in 1996, and then parts 3 and 4 in 1997. 1 and 2 were special red or green illustration versions of each of the original 151 Pokemon, with a handful of extra theme or item cards for a total of 309. Parts 3 and 4 only had 1 card for each of the 151, but there were 2 secret promo cards available at Ito Yokado stores in Japan. 1 special card with red and the first 4 starter Pokemon, and 1 with red and blue and the fully evolved starters, for a total of 153 cards. Additionally, there were 6 jumbo promotional cards with like stickers and facts on them and stuff. Not really counting these as they don't meet our criteria, but just mentioning for the sake of completeness. So our total for the Pokemon Motherland itself comes to 462 non-TCG Pokemon cards. Our total for every card we've counted up until now sits at 6,729 cards, which is a very, very respectable number. Now it's time to artificially inflate that number like it's the Square Enix stock price and my name is Yuji Naka. If that joke didn't make any sense to you because, unlike me, you had sex in high school, Yuji Naka is the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog that was arrested for insider trading. Google Sonic the Hedgehog inflation to learn, because while Japan had a fun little limited set run of Cardass stuff, America took it to the major leagues. Major leagues is in baseball. Because Topps, they usually make baseball. That's right, there were special non-TCG Pokemon collectible cards manufactured by the Topps company, known as the Topps cards. They were far from a fun little pre-release promotion and instead had several different editions, several different series, and several different language versions, trying to count all of which gave me several different migraines. Though they did continue to make new cards into Gen 2, the cards we were concerned with from Topps encompass the cards made for their Series 1, 2, and 3, as well as the tie-in for the first Pokemon movie. And in the effort of making my life miserable, the Topps company made a lot of different versions of these fuckers. A lot. See, each card could be printed in 3 different versions, listed as non-holo, silver, or rainbow rarity. Series 1 had 90 cards, so that's 270 right off the bat. However, we had 4 printings, each with different colors on the back of the card, so multiply that by 4. Then we have the various different languages we printed, and thankfully not every printing in series was the same across every language, so it's not a flat multiplier, but it still inflates it quite a bit. For Series 1 alone, it adds 1,152 cards to our count. Source? Trust me, I won't waste time outlining everything for these cards because, to be quite honest, I don't think anyone cares about these as much as actual TCG cards, but the links to the wiki page with a lot of info as well as an invaluable forum thread by user Sam, which has an incredible amount of info in it, can be found in the description. Additionally, we have 7 jumbo cards and 5 tin topper cards for 12 extra cards for a Series 1 total of 2,244. For the sake of time, I won't outline the other series and versions, but if you've come with me this far, please just trust me that the total amount of cards here prior to the Johto series is roughly 4,190 cards. Finally, we're done. It's finished. Aside from all the miscellaneous card additions that didn't really fit in anywhere else that will now scroll past you too quickly for you to read unless you pause, so I can say that I put them in but not have to give a dedicated section to, featuring such inclusions as the Southern Island set, Pikachu Records, a Pokemon Fruit Roll-Up collab, starter decks with unique prints, and theme decks not released in America. Okay, I swear that's it. No more secret hidden series, no more non-TCG inclusions. All that's left is just a little math. Hey, wait, where are you going? Our totals have come out to this. Base set, 2,432. Jungle, 946. Fossil, 978. Base set 2, 130. Wizards of the Coast promo, 115. Japanese promo, 78. Team Rocket, 731. Vending Machine Series, 133. Gym Heroes, 361. Gym Challenge, 363. Miscellaneous Random Promo, 291. Cardass cards, 462. 4,190 Topps cards. And so, drumroll please, the final tally of our count of Generation 1's full card count, trading card game, and collectible cards is 11,210 cards. Wow, there it is. There's the number. Now we know. Are you happy? Am I happy? As I told you when you were much younger back at the start of the video, this number is not correct. I'm sure I missed some very rare promo card that was printed in Italian, or a minute difference in some Japanese series that would add dozens of more cards, or who knows what. But I think that this has been a thorough enough search to meet that goal of 95% accuracy. If you know of any big outliers I may have missed or forgotten or anything like that, please let me know below. If there's anything I fucked up big time, I might make an addendum video. In the meantime, though, I really just have to put this to bed. This was supposed to be a fun little project, and it quickly spiraled into the most research I've done for anything in a long time. And this was just the first generation. I can't even imagine how long this would take, or how long the video would be, or how many cards there would be in just the Gen 2 version of this, or even the entire game. Based on this count, and how small of a fraction this slice of the pie is to the total sets of the series that have been released in the past 25 years, plus the increase in languages offered, I have to assume the total number of unique cards is probably closer to like 1 million, which is insane. Let me know if you enjoyed. If enough people find this interesting, maybe I'll dip further into Gen 2 or something, or break it out into some sort of series, but we'll see. Bye. Oh, and thanks for all the support on that Elden Ring video.